everybody, welcome to Vice-Grip Garage. Today I'm going to be your host because Derek is out of town for a few days and my going to town rig has a ton of issues that need to be addressed right away. So today we're going to be doing a brake job, an oil change, new battery, and also I'm going to be trying to diagnose the check engine light that is preventing me from using my cruise control, which is super annoying. We got a ton of stuff to do today, so let's get started. So I know that this might be boring for some of you guys watching, but I also know that there's a lot of women that watch, and I'm hoping that by you watching me do this today, it'll motivate some of you to get out there and do it yourself, and just to show you that we can do it too. So let's go check this thing out. I know you've probably seen this in the background of other videos. We've had this for quite a few years now. The reason why I wanted this specific vehicle was not only for the interior setup with the third row seating with the kids, but I was also looking for this specific color, the SUV type. I've always had Yukons, Tahoes, that kind of vehicle, so this was a very specific thing that I wanted. Derek actually found this on eBay and won the bid, so he flew to New York, picked it up, and drove it home for me. We've only ever had to put in a water pump and replace the hub, so it makes sense that we have to do some basic maintenance on it. We bought this used with about 60,000 miles on it, and it's getting close to about 130,000, so it's definitely time to get these things done. So when I came outside to pull this into the shop this morning, the battery was actually dead. So we are going to see if it's the battery or the alternator that needs replaced. So I actually remember a couple of years ago replacing this battery in the winter when it was having kind of the same issues with starting. I'm going to fire this up. I'm going to put the voltmeter on the battery to see if the alternator is still charging. If it isn't charging, we're going to call O'Reilly's and get a new one ordered up. If it is charging, we're just going to swap out the battery really quick. So I'm just looking for anything over 13 volts. Some vehicles, depending on make and model, you have to rev the engine. This one is showing just over 14, so we know it's charging. So my vehicle here has these two support bars, and I'm just gonna remove those to make it easier to get this battery out of here, because that thing is way too heavy for me. I threw this up here so I don't scratch up my fender here, because I have a feeling I'm going to kind of struggle getting this out of here. Not quite as bad as I thought. First thing I need to do is write the date on this battery. Now I'm just going to put all the braces back in and we're good to go. We got the battery all buttoned up. While I'm right here, I'm going to go ahead and pop this cover off the air filter and check to see if it needs to be cleaned or replaced at all. This actually looks really clean, really good. I don't even know if I could get this any cleaner, to be honest. It looks like it has a date of 6/21, so that really wasn't that long ago. Put this back in and we're just going to leave it alone. So for those of you interested, this is the 6.2 liter and it is rated at about 403 horsepower, but to be completely honest with you, with it being all-wheel drive, it gets terrible gas mileage. We got a lot of brake work to do to this thing, so let's get it up in the air and let's get started. These wheels were already on the truck when we got it, which I love them, but to be honest, I don't really know anything about them. I thought it was just this one bolt here in the center cap, but it turns out we have to take out every single one of these on the outside of the wheel. So I just rigged up this little guy here to help me get them off. So something kind of interesting that I just figured out is it looks like we can run these wheels like this, like we've been running them with the chrome, or we can pop these off the center cap and just run them to be black. What do you guys think we should do? Keep them chrome? Run it black? Comment down below and let us know what you think. Geez, these are way bigger than I thought. This part's pretty easy. We just have to back these 2 pins out, slide the caliper off, and then the pads should fall off. You can see there's almost nothing left of the pads, and you can see where the wear indicator was rubbing on the rotor. So I'm going to take these rotors off and take them into town to have them turned, and what that will do is it'll actually make a nice smooth surface, which will extend the life of our new brake pads. I'm going to take this caliper bracket off first, and then the whole rotor will just slide right off. So you can buy new rotors if you want, but we like to try to save as much money as possible wherever we can, so we can have these turned for about 15 bucks. E-brake shoes look really, really great on both sides, so I don't even think we're going to mess with those. All right, so we're going to run these rotors down to O'Reilly's really quick and have them turned. And while we're there, we're probably going to grab some oil, some new brake pads, and whatever else we need. Okay, so we're back with the rotor, and I know you can see it's really shiny here. I know you can't feel it, but it's really, really smooth. And again, that's just going to help the brake pad last a lot longer because it's not trying to conform to all the grooves that were in there before. Dang it, that's kind of heavy. So we are going to put the caliper brackets back on, but first we are going to put some red Loctite on these caliper bracket bolts. That's to hold it in place so it doesn't shake at all. And I can see that there was some on here previously, so that tells me it's actually probably pretty important. We're going to pop off these old bracket things, whatever they are, and replace them with the new ones that came in the kit. If you don't replace them, the brake pad can get hung up or get a little bit too loose. I'm going to put some brake caliper grease right here where the brake pads sit. And what that's going to do is it's going to keep it nice and quiet and keep everything moving around nice and freely. I get embarrassed really easily. Most of you might know by now. So going through town with really loud brakes is not something I like to do. So Derek would probably never do this because obviously, one, he never has brakes anyway, but he just does not care what people think. Pads are in. I went ahead and got the ceramic ones, which are a little bit more expensive, but since Derek is out of town, I don't have to get the cheapest of everything. And to be completely honest, this is not something I want to do anytime soon, so this will help them last a little bit longer too. This is probably going to be the most difficult part, is putting the tire on, only because it's like literally half the size of me, tallness-wise, if that's a word. But I also just noticed I have a screw in my tire, so that's going to be the next thing. So some of you might be curious, these tires are 285, 45, 22s. They are up there a little bit. I wonder what Derek would think if I put spinners on this. Just kidding. All right, so we're just going to torque these wheels quick, pop the plastic back on, and then we're going to head to the front brakes. I'm not going to bore you guys with the front brakes. It's the same exact process as the rear brakes. Plus, I can already see by looking at this rotor that it is not in near as bad a shape as the other ones, so we're not even going to take them in and get them turned. So I'm just going to knock this out really quick, and I'll be right back with you. So I know I said I wasn't going to show you guys this, but this is really crazy. So the pin that goes on the inside here, it was frozen in there essentially, so I had to use some heat to break it loose. If you see this one down here, see how this one moves freely? This one obviously was not doing that, and what was happening is it was causing the inside pad to squeeze really hard and not do anything with the outside one. So you can see this outside one is essentially brand new, whereas this one that was on the inside, it's just down to virtually nothing. You can see it was metal on metal, which I had heard that for a while. I just didn't realize it was quite that bad. So if you look here, you can see all these rust spots. That's actually metal from the brake pad that got caught up in the wheel and rusted. So here's where we're at. Obviously, I had to get this right rotor turned because the pad was metal on metal. Got the brakes all done, thought we were good to go, and unfortunately I found a leak. So let's get this thing back down and see what we can find. So when I was under the truck, I noticed brake fluid leaking. I thought it was a line close to the caliper, but it was not. I followed the leak and I followed the fluid all the way up here, all the way up to the back of the master cylinder. So basically this master cylinder is leaking out of the rear and we're gonna have to replace it. Now, if you have the ability, you can rebuild these, but I've never done that before. And so we're just going to swap that out. So you guys know when you put in new brake pads, you compress the caliper, which drives the fluid backwards. And I think what happened is it found the weakest link, which happens to be the old brake master cylinder. So this is a very universal part to replace. Typically you have 1 or 2 lines to replace and a couple of bolts holding it to the booster. So I'm gonna get this off of here. So not a big deal on newer vehicles like this, but Derek taught me on older vehicles, typically you would want to use a plier to hold the brake line. Otherwise, when you're twisting the fitting off, you could snap the brake line. Luckily on this one, both these fittings came loose pretty easily. So normally Derek and I would bleed these in the vehicle because it's way easier, way less messy. But since it's just me, I went ahead and bench bled this, got it put back in here, and I think we're gonna be good to go. Well, we're finished up here. Now the fun part. Gotta get this truck back up and start bleeding the brakes. Okay, I'm gonna start bleeding the brakes closest to the master cylinder and just work my way around. I'm gonna be using this fluid extractor thing of Derek's. I think I figured out how to use it. We'll see. So I think I have a fully functioning brake system now. But of course, you guys know if it's not working properly, all I really have to do is bat my eyes at Derek a little bit and somehow it'll just magically be working right again. Well, we can finally move on and try to figure out what this check engine light is. As I mentioned before, it keeps me from using my cruise control and that can get so annoying when I'm having to make these long trips into town. So let's try to figure this out. We have a few of these scanners laying around because obviously Derek works on a lot of junk, so we need them a lot. If you don't have your own, you can always go down to your local O'Reilly or any parts store that you choose, and they'll usually scan it for free, and they'll even tell you, what's wrong with your vehicle. I actually think Derek got this one at O'Reilly's, and it was not expensive at all. So I just scanned this, and the only code that it's showing me is a P0449 code, which says it's an evaporative emission vent solenoid valve control circuit. I have no idea what that is. I know nothing about it. So give me a few minutes. I'm going to Google it. I'm going to see if I can figure it out on my own. I have no idea what mechanics did before internet was a thing. I just Googled the code and literally hundreds of different things popped up, different forums, pictures, diagrams, everything. So honestly, I might be able to do this on my own. It looks like it might be something really as simple as just popping one out and putting another one back in. I've already called O'Reilly's. They have one in stock. I'm going to run down and grab it and I'll be right back. So apparently this is what I need to replace. It kind of reminds me of like an air mattress pump. From what I've seen online, the pictures I've been looking at, it looks like it goes above the spare tire. So I need to get this thing back up again, drop the tire, and try to get this figured out. Well, this took way longer than I care to admit. Apparently my tools for this were missing, so I had to go get the tools out of Derek's truck. Thankfully, he had them and they were the right ones. Just gotta crank this. This should bring it down and we're just gonna let it hang for now. Good thing I figured out these tools are missing. I can order a new set on eBay or something. That way I have a set for in here in case I need them again. No! Something I want to address really quick is you can see this condensation leaking out of here profusely and it's starting to rot it really bad, so I think I know a way we can fix this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole in this muffler here. I know that sounds a little bit counterproductive, but what that's going to do is it's going to allow that moisture to run freely out of here without rotting it. There. That is exactly what I was going for. So this is the guy we're after right here. This was connected right underneath here. Had this electrical connection. Has this, which is connected to the fuel fill. And there was another hose that was connected right up here. The new one, as you saw, had all the stuff already connected to it. So I think we should be able to just kind of pop it all right back in. So I grabbed the new part here. It looks to me like this is where the vapors go through to the solenoid right here. And that is the part that I'm fighting right now. Right here, it feels or seems like there might be like a whole bunch of zip ties holding it in there or something. It's taking me a while to get it out. So I'm gonna have to get up in here and see what the problem is and why it's not coming out. So it's just gonna take me a little while to get it. I think I finally got it. It seemed like there was a couple of zip ties up there that I couldn't see, but I think I finally got it. There. So we got the new one here. I think it's just gonna be like a reverse process. We're gonna just put this one back in the way we took this one back out and hope that the wiring from the old one is still good. The solenoid did come with a new wiring harness, so I'm just gonna go ahead and use this one as well. Well, that's it. It was actually a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be. I think the hardest part, honestly, was trying to get this tire down. I know I said I was gonna let it just kind of hang while I did this, but it seemed to be in the way and could not get around it. So that was honestly the most difficult part. So we're gonna get this back on here and try to button it all up. Okay, well, I got this up in the air. I'm gonna go ahead and drain the oil, change out the filter really quick. Normally we'd always use a Wix, but they were out, so I grabbed a K&N. Don't forget also, whenever you're doing this, to make sure you write the date on your oil filter. Ooh, this is a really messy part. I also could write the miles on it. Whew. There we go, the oil filter is out. Taking the oil pan drain plug out. I'm gonna do my best to catch it. We use Shell or Pennzoil in every single vehicle that we have. Fun fact, if you did not already know this, Pennzoil and Shell is actually owned by the same exact company. Today I'm going to use the 530 high mileage oil just because of the fact that it's a pretty high mileage vehicle anyway, so that just makes sense. We're going to fill the oil filter first. Derek actually taught me a trick. If you hold the oil this way, it flows out so much better than holding it the other direction. That's almost full already. Another thing that some of you might not know is these are actually magnetic. So the one thing you want to do when you're doing this is check to see if there's any metal flakes at all. And there is actually none at all, which is a really good sign on here. I wonder what Derek's doing today. What's he even doing when he's not here? Okay, I got the code pulled up here again. I'm going to go ahead and erase this. So the erase was successful. So right now it's showing that the engine light is off. I'm gonna let this run for a couple of minutes because sometimes it takes a little while for the codes to come back on. I've had this running for about 15 minutes now, and so far all the lights have stayed off. So I've accomplished everything I wanted to do today. So I think I'm gonna take this into town as a test drive, return the brake master cylinder core. Even though it takes about $17 in fuel to get there, Derek will still say, yeah, but it's a $22 core. So thanks guys for watching, appreciate you all, and we'll see you next time.